In this video, we're looking at unfair dismissal compensation and how much you should get. If you're interested in constructive dismissal compensation and how much you should get for that, please check out our other video on that topic. My name's Alex Monaco, solicitor and owner of Monaco Solicitors. Broadly, the topics we're going to cover is a quick recap on what is unfair dismissal, then negotiating a settlement out of court, how much you might get in an employment tribunal, and the effect of getting another job on how much you should get. What is unfair dismissal? Under the Employment Rights Act 1996, Section 98, you have the right not to be unfairly dismissed if you have 2 years service. So you need to be employed for 2 years before you get these rights. If you're dismissed before the 2 years is up, then all you could perhaps claim for is something like discrimination or whistleblowing or health and safety. So assuming you've got 2 years service and then you're dismissed, your employer generally can only dismiss you for broadly 2 reasons. One is conduct and one is capability. So conduct is whether you're behaving badly, for extreme example, punching the boss or fingers in the till. Capability is whether you are performing properly in your job. If they dismiss you for any other reason, like personal reasons or something that's not connected to you, then that's potentially unfair dismissal. If you negotiate a settlement out of court, how much compensation should you get for unfair dismissal? Well, part of it depends on your approach and your tactics, whether your employer thinks that you're serious about this and you're going to take them to an employment tribunal. It also depends on your evidence and how much you ask for. So we would suggest asking for more than what you really want. Maybe you almost could broadly ask for double and then accept they might knock you down, and it's a bit of horse trading. You could meet in the middle. Also, you need to look at why you were unfairly dismissed and how your employer feels about that. So if it was blatantly unfair, you're more likely to get a decent amount. Broadly speaking, you might ask for your notice pay to be paid. So say you've got 1 month notice, instead of working for 1 month, that you just say, no, I'm not going to work for a month, but I want you to pay me for my notice. That's called being payment in lieu of notice. You would also want some money to tide you over until you get another job. You might accept something like 3 months on average for that. If you're going to be out of work for a long time, maybe you have a particularly specialist role, you might ask for more. You might ask for up to 6 months, say, or in particularly extreme cases up to a year, but that's unlikely, frankly. So guideline, roughly 3 months salary plus your notice would be an okay result in an out-of-court negotiated settlement for unfair dismissal. How much unfair dismissal compensation should you get at an employment tribunal? Well, there's 2 elements of an award of compensation in an employment tribunal. First is your basic pay, which is a bit like redundancy pay. So it depends on how many years you worked and on how old you are. And it's roughly 1 week's money per year worked. And that is capped at roughly £500 for a week's work. That cap does change, so look that up whenever you're watching this video. Then you've got the other element, which is called the compensatory award. So the compensatory award is how much you should get for the money you've lost because you're not working. So it looks at your financial loss. If you're out of work for 3 months or 6 months, it would look at that. And they would also look at your efforts to get another job. So that's called mitigating your loss. And if you've been trying to get another job and it wasn't your fault and you couldn't, then the tribunal would award you the money that you've lost in that time period whilst between jobs. That's capped at a maximum of 1 year's pay or £93,000, whichever is lowest. So that £93,000 limit, that is subject to change every year. So make sure you're looking that up online. For example, if you only earn, say, £20,000 a year, then that would be the maximum amount of compensatory award. But if you earn £150,000 a year, then that would be capped at the current cap, which is £93,000 at the time of making this video. Finally, the last point to cover in this video is the effect of getting another job on unfair dismissal compensation and how much you should get for that. So, as we've spoken about previously, a large part of your unfair dismissal compensation is about compensating for the money you've lost in between jobs. You've been fired unfairly, you're out of work for some months, say. It's paying you for those months that you're out of work. What's the effect of getting another job? Well, you will not have lost any money. Once you start working in your new job, presumably you will then be earning more or the same that you were previously, so you won't be losing any more money. So you'll only get compensated for the period between jobs. If you get the new job on a lower income, which is quite often the case if you're trying to just get something to tide you over, then you can claim the difference between that lower income and your previous income. Not forever in a day, but it would just be for perhaps a shorter period of time, like 3 months or maybe 6 months, however long it's reasonable for you to get another job on the same money or more. Tactically speaking, if you do get a new job, do you have to inform your employer? Well, obviously, if there's a reference request, they will know. If you go to an employment tribunal, eventually they will find out there because you can't mislead the court. But you might have a bit of a grace period where you think, right, looks like I probably will get another job. So quickly I'm going to negotiate a settlement before I do get this other job. And that way you won't have any duty to tell your old employer about that because you haven't actually got one yet. So that would be a good window for you to accelerate the process, perhaps take a bit of a lower offer and get that bird in the hand, because that's definitely worth 2 in the bush. If you do need any help with employment tribunal claims or negotiating out of court settlement in unfair dismissal, get in touch with us. And you can also have a look at some of the playlists that we have on the YouTube channel, like the settlement agreement playlist with lots of tactics in there. Check out our website too. Best of luck. Thanks very much.